Hi everyone, Rene Bastarache here with the American School of Hypnosis, and I'd like to welcome you to our 20-day Gift of Giving challenge. Today, day 2 Gift of Giving, what we're going to be doing is I'm actually going to be giving you some tips, teaching you about raising, so it's going to be tips on raising and programming your children. Okay, there's going to be a lot of really interesting thing here for anyone who has children. So if you're a parent, you're going to love this. If you're a grandparent, you're going to love this because there's some ideas here and some thoughts having to do with the mind that you might not have known about. So before we get started, if you want to share this with someone to get them on, maybe your kids, your grandkids, or your friends who have kids, go ahead and share and get them on here so they can watch and learn from this. Now, since this is something where I'm doing live and the actual tip of the gift is going to be the video itself, the good thing about it is at the end of the video, I don't have to send you anywhere to find today's gift because here it is. Okay, you're looking at it. So let's get going. Basically, what I'm going to be speaking about is raising children, I guess how to raise them in a society where they can be open, where they can learn, where they can be productive and very successful. The problem is there's never been an operation manual for raising successful children. Wouldn't it be great that, when you're in the delivery room, you deliver the child, and as soon as it's born, the doctor comes up with this big manual and says, here's the training manual for raising your kid effectively, raising him in a society where he can move ahead, where he can be very successful, wealthy, healthy. There isn't anything like that. So that's the problem. There's no owner's manual for raising kids. So what we do as parents is we simply do the best that we know how. So what's the best you know how? You raise your kids the way you were raised, the way your parents raised you, and the way their parents raised them. So it's kind of a generational upbringing, okay? You have pretty much the same learned fears, goals, programming, beliefs, a lot of the same things that your parents had and their parents had before them, on and on and on. So a generational programming. Now, that's great if you want things to remain the same, but here you are training your kids the same way you were trained and your parents were trained and your grandparents were trained, but the world is moving ahead. Things are progressing. So pretty much children are learning generational programming, and everything else they're learning through trial and error. What I want to go through right now is how children learn at the various ages, okay? Because they don't just learn the same way from when they're born. Different ages, children learn different ways, and I think you're going to be shocked to understand some of this. Let's talk about from birth to age 2. Okay, so from birth to age 2, children are what they call in the delta brainwave state. We go through different brainwave states through different ages, and as adults now, we go through different brainwave states throughout the day, different ones. Now, what is a brainwave? Basically, your brain, it works in what they call cycles per second, okay? The faster they are, okay, so let's say 4 to 7 cycles per second is the beta state. And then the more you relax, the slower those cycles go, okay? And the slower the cycles go, the deeper into relaxation you are. I guess you could say the more open to, you could even say the psychic realm, so the more relaxed you become. So from birth to age 2, children are in the delta brainwave state. Now, what's delta? Delta is almost like the deep sleeping state you're in. Okay, I'm comparing it with sleep because most people would associate with that better. Delta is where your body heals about 3 times faster than normal. Think of that. If you can get your brain into the delta brainwave state, okay, you're going to heal about 3 times faster than normal. This is normally when you're in a dreamless state, beyond the dreams, that's delta. Now, children, between age 2 and under, they don't learn by you talking to them and say, don't do this, don't do that. It's going to go right over their head. They learn through observation. You ever heard the monkey see, monkey do type thing? That's how children from 2 and under learn. They're learning from you. They're watching you. They're watching the people around, their environment, their uncles, cousins, brothers, and sisters, and they mimic them. Okay, so they learn through observation. Matter of fact, there was a test done somewhere where these people were training a monkey. They were training the monkey to It was like a game, and when the monkey would give the right answer, they'd give him a coin. He could take the coin, run over to the vending machine, put it in the vending machine, and a banana came out. Well, I guess the way things worked is everyone went on break, and when they went on break, what happened is the baby monkey that was watching, this monkey had a baby, the baby monkey, really young, actually went up, grabbed one of the coins, put it in the vending machine, and got a banana. You see what I mean? It was watching everyone and was able to figure it out. That's how 2-year-olds learn and under. Now, how about from ages 2 to 6? This is the next stage. They're in what they call the theta brainwave state. Now, that probably doesn't mean anything to you, like I said, but just so you know, it's a different brainwave state. So from 2 to 6, as an average, what they do is they learn through hearing, seeing, understanding. They're mini clones. You ever seen that movie where the guy says mini-me? You know, they're mini-me's of you. Okay, so they learn through, like I said, through what they hear, see, understand. And so they're mini clones of their parents. Now, it's interesting if you look at kids, let's say 2 to 6, maybe, I guess, nursery schools. Look at them in the playground. And when a kid is upset, one of the kids is upset because maybe another one took his toy, and you see them start doing like this, and they get really upset and they point their finger. Where did they learn that? From the parent maybe being upset with them saying, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. They don't know what it means because they're not able to reason yet, but they realize that you do this when someone does something you don't like. And it's amazing when you watch little kids playing in a playground, they're going to respond and do the same hand gestures and facial expressions that their parents did, showing disapproval or showing happiness. The other day I saw a video online of 2 kids that were really playing together, really happy. Then one of them hurt his finger, and the other one came over and pat him on the back. Where did he learn patting him on the back? From the parents, okay? So, ages 2 to 6, they're mini-me's. Keep that in mind. Funny thing, we deal with a lot of people, with hypnosis. We have a lot of people coming in for hypnosis, for counseling, for this kind of thing here. And sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, my young one, she's so young, but she swears. I can't see where she gets that effing da-da-da, bleep, bleep, bleep language. And they're talking to you swearing. I don't understand why she blah, 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 effing this and effing that. And I go, you want me to rewind the tape? They're picking it up from you. They're picking it up from people that they're hearing. So if your kid's swearing a lot, okay, before you start yelling at the kid, look who they're hanging around with. Look who's there. You might be surprised. This is a great way to find out that people are hanging around your children that you didn't even know. If they start picking up habits of someone, you go, hey, that sounds a lot like Uncle Bob. Wow, you must have been watching Uncle Bob. Okay. Let's move on from ages 6 to 12. Excuse me. Well, we just did 6 to 12, didn't we? We did, 2. We did 2 to 6. What are we doing here? From ages 6 to 12, okay. They're beginning to understand and learn much quicker. I'm looking at some notes here. They're basically, they're starting to learn the concept of negotiation, okay, role-playing. They learn through role-playing, mimicry, and storytelling, okay. So this is what they call the theta brainwave state. They're learning through, think of that, storytelling. What does storytelling do? It helps them to use their imagination. When you're telling stories, whether it be a nursery rhyme or whatever it is, the boy that cried wolf. Okay, there's a story you tell to kids if they lie a lot, and you're teaching them not to lie, because if they keep on lying, nobody will believe them. Like the boy who cried wolf, and there was never a wolf there. When one came, nobody believed him, and he didn't get any help. By telling stories, it gets kids to use their imagination, and they're learning through this imagination, and that's how they grow. So from using your imagination, from mimicry, from role-playing, mimicry, they see other people do it, and they start to do it themselves. And you see little kids, around that age, that's where they start to have tea parties and playing house or playing mechanic. The young one, he's 8 years old, and he's out in the yard with his little Tykes trucks, and he has dad's tools, and he's trying to fix them, or he's underneath a picnic table, working on the picnic table or something with a hammer. So mimicry. Now keep this in mind, because in a few minutes I'm going to show you how you can use all this to your advantage. Now, the interesting thing is, when they're below 12, because we're going to be talking about 12 and up in a minute, when they're below 12, you notice I didn't talk about being able to reason with them. Reasoning isn't there. They might be starting to think about it when they're, between 6 and 12, but the reasoning just isn't there. So when you see these parents in the store saying, I told you not to do that, you better not do that, I'm going to tell your father when you get home. If you do that, you're not going to watch TV for a week. That's just going right over their head. All they're learning again is this. Okay, so when you're trying to reason with a young child, and I get a kick out of it, at Walmart you'll see somebody yelling at a 4-year-old because they want to hold a toy. And the 4-year-old's crying and the parent says no, and she tries reasoning with them or scolding them. Makes no sense. Why not just let the child hold the toy, and at the cashier, you just distract them and say, look, a moose, and put the toy back, That's a great way to do it. Maybe not a moose, but, again, the kid's not going to really think about that. So now that you're age 12 and up, this is where reasoning begins. Okay, so now you can finally, start to reason with them, but before then it's just a useless exercise in futility. Okay. Let's see. Here's some of the no-nos. Okay, so for 12 and up, okay, you can reason with them, so they're starting to get to be normal people already. But here's some no-nos that you don't do when they're under 12. Eat your vegetables or you'll have no dessert. Makes no sense. How many times have you heard people say, eat it or you'll sit there all night long until you do? I guess a 4-year-old's going to be there all night long, kind of dreaming in their food. Okay. Finish your meal or you'll go to bed. When they're young, they want to go to bed anyways. But you see, that kind of reasoning, threatening never works, okay? Another reason why threatening doesn't work is because when they're really young, okay, they're using primarily the subconscious mind. Because remember, the younger you are, the more the subconscious mind expands. And one of the primary rules of the subconscious mind is that it doesn't understand negative. So when you tell a child, no, you won't get this, you won't get that, you can't, it doesn't, boom, right over the head. You can only use positive when speaking to young children. And if you don't believe that negative doesn't work, okay, I'm going to do a test with you, okay? Right now, I don't know if it's going to work since you're not here, but don't look at this. Okay, did you look? If you have a small screen, you kind of have to. But when you walk through a room and someone's in the corner of the room doing something, maybe wrapping a Christmas gift, and they say, don't look, first thing you do is look. Because subconsciously, all you're hearing is look. The don't just goes right past, okay? When you're a young kid is holding, let's say, a glass, your beautiful crystal glass filled with water, and they're walking across the floor, walking towards you, and you go, don't drop that. You see what I mean? It doesn't understand negative, so it's focusing on drop that. And that's exactly what happened. Instead, you should say, bring it here, you're doing good, and it'll bring, see, it's just positive. Or one of my favorites, okay, you're walking across something or you're on a step ladder or someplace really high and someone says, don't look down. What are you going to do? You're going to look down. So the subconscious doesn't understand negative. Something I like to say when I'm training this is right now, do not think of a purple monkey jumping up and down on top of your tabletop playing the banjo. Don't think about it. Did you? You see what I mean? You always focus on what people say, whether it's negative or positive. You're focusing on the main concept, not the negative. It's going to be there. So when they say don't do something, they're going to do it. So children just don't understand the negative. So this, again, in all, what can I say, scolding is negative, isn't it? Here's something interesting. Children just say what's on their minds. Now, I'm sure you've seen this a lot, and you probably punish your child for it, but this is natural. Remember, they're not doing anything maliciously to hurt your feelings. They just say what's on their minds. They love you as parents so much that they want to mimic you. They want to be like you. That, again, the tea parties and the working on the car, they want to do that. So mimicry is the highest form of flattery. Think about that. When a kid, here you are, you're out with company with friends, and you and your husband maybe were talking about how this guy Bob that's visiting, how he kind of looks funny, and your kid's in the other room and they overheard you. So here you are, and your kid runs through, you're having dinner, and the kid runs through the room, and you say, Johnny, come here, I want to introduce you to Bob. And he goes, you look funny. My mommy says so. Okay, that is to be expected because they overheard you say it in the mimicry. Or, you don't have any hair. Okay, they always seem to pick up the most obvious thing on someone because those are the things that you're probably talking about. Uncle Bobby's drunk and he needs a job. You know, I mean, if a kid goes right up to Uncle Bobby and says that, you can't really punish the kid. You might want to explain to them that, if they're old enough, that we really don't do that. But, all you can say is busted. You were saying it first. So they may say things that, you really don't expect them to say. Now, I guess you could say I learned a lesson how kids will say whatever whatever comes to mind. My granddaughter, I called up my son one day, and as we're talking, he goes, hey, Dad, do you want to speak to Jordan? Jordan's my granddaughter. So I said, sure. She was about 5 years old at the time. So we start talking. We're of French descent, so she calls me Pepe. So here we are, I said, what are you doing? And she's doing this and that. How's things going at home? And she told me. And then she just says, Pepe, I don't want to talk anymore. Bye-bye. And she puts the phone down in the chair and walks away to play with the toys. I'm like, I was kind of flabbergasted. Here I am, waiting on the phone. No one's there, and finally my son comes back and goes, what happened? I said, she didn't want to talk anymore. So she put the phone down. What honesty. Think of that. I'm sure that we all wish we could be that candid with our dealings with people. I don't want to talk to you anymore. So what a lesson. I mean, think of the elaborate excuses that we come up with when we don't want to do something. I just made a few of them here, okay? If you want to get off the phone with someone, you blame it on the dog, or someone's at the door, or something's burning in the oven, or I have another call coming and I'll have to get back to you, but nobody heard the beep, okay? We come up with so many excuses when we don't want to do something, when we could just say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Bye-bye. Have a good day. How simple would that be? Just say what you mean. I know I said this before, but here's a saying that I wrote it down with quotes here. If you really don't want to do something, then one excuse is as good as another. Because it's just an excuse. So if you don't want to do something, if I don't want to come to your house and help you move, I could just say no. Or I could say, the planets aren't aligned, so I can't go. Or the ozone layer is too thin today. I really can't move. I mean, one excuse is as good as another, as bad as another. Because the point is, I just don't want to do it. So sometimes we should take lessons from children, and we don't want to do something, just say, I'm sorry, bye-bye, I don't want to do it. Next step, who's raising your children? This is interesting. If you have a business, okay, you're trying to run a business, you're trying to build a business, would you let someone, let's say, program your computers that you don't even know? Someone maybe minimum wage coming in to program your computers, put all the information in there, your goals, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, program what you do on a daily basis? Of course you wouldn't. Because your business is important to you and you want to know what goes into it. You want to put the best programming in there to make sure it runs the best. But we do that with our children, or a lot of people do. Think about this, okay? Why are so many parents willing to let their children be programmed by daycare centers that are programming, most of the day, 40 hours a week, 30 other children, and they're being run by minimum wage people? Think of that. You have, people working minimum wage, very little education. Chances are if they're in a daycare center, they probably don't have a college degree. And they have their own problems and frustrations. They're working 40 hours a week around screaming kids all day. That's where a lot of people's children are being raised. And I know there's a lot of excuses. Well, I have to work, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, besides that, how about people that are being babysat all the time by relatives? Sometimes you have to, but do you want your children being raised by the teaching of the relatives that are raising them? Because they are programming your child's mind. Most children, or a lot of children today, I see this everywhere, are being raised by television, by video games and by cell phones. I mean, it's like if you took the cell phone away from someone, I think they'd be lost. They'd be, like deer in headlights or walking through the forest aimlessly, okay? It seems like cell phones are almost leading people. It's like a leash today. So who's raising your children? Do you realize that by age 12, the majority of your child's programming and conscious personality has already been developed? The majority of who they're going to be, their goals, a lot of the things, the way they think, the way they're going to feel, the way they're going to act, is programmed by age 12. Who's done that programming? So, now that I told you the problem and how kids act and all this different stuff, how can you program them? And that's what this whole thing's about. You can use all this information to program your own children for success. That's right. Even if they're lazy, if they seem to have no ambition, no goals, you can help them to change that. Help them to change that. You can't force anybody to do anything, but here's ways you can help them. Think about this. I was talking earlier about children. Their imagination is one of the biggest things. They're very imaginative when they're kids, I mean, some of them have imaginary friends, and we discourage them. And then when they get older, they wish they could use their imagination again. So don't discourage children using their imagination. Matter of fact, use it to help program them. Children's books. What do most children's books do? They get them to expand their imagination. Disney built a huge business off using your imagination. I mean, we as adults love to use our imagination, and Disney helps us to do that. So utilizing the child's imagination, you can help them to learn, to explore, and to expand their minds. So children up to age 12 are, keep this in mind, highly imaginative, highly suggestible. They're copycats. They're impressionable. They soak up information like a sponge. They just take everything in, whether you're talking to them directly or whether in the other room listening, okay? I notice a lot of places you go to, and when you go to visit people, all the kids are in the other room, all the adults are talking, when you're having a family function. Everything the adults are talking about, the kids are absorbing it, whether consciously or subconsciously. So be careful what you guys are talking about. That's why they come up with these stories that you can't believe that, they heard that. They're naive, they only understand positive, and they are brutally honest and innocent. So how can you use kids' imagination to teach them? Well, why not create your own stories? What is it you want your kids to do? If your kids are having a hard time in school, just tell them make up a story about them as the main character. And when you go to school, you're doing great and everybody loves you and you're so smart and you're able to learn things. And by telling them, by giving them these suggestions and having them imagine what it would be like to be that way, those suggestions are very strong, and that's how they pick things up, okay? There's a thing called the teacher expectancy effect. This is a test that was done at schools where they separated a class between blue-eyed children and brown-eyed children. And on one day, what they did is they tested everybody, but when they tested the blue-eyed children, they told the blue-eyed children that they were so much more intelligent than the brown-eyed children. And what they did is they did the test, and what happened is the blue-eyed children scored remarkably better than the brown-eyed children. And then another day they did the other thing, telling the brown-eyed children how much more intelligent they are and how better they are. And the same thing, they were able to test higher than the blue ones. So the teacher expectancy, we have expectancy of what's told of us by those who are in authority. So if a suggestion comes to you from your parent, from your teacher, from your minister, from your any kind of leader, political leader, those are the suggestions that are the strongest. There's been many situations where a doctor says, you're really sick and this is going to happen to you by the 30th of this month. And 30th of this month, the person gets really sick or dies or whatever it is the doctor told them. Because we expect things to happen because these other people are in authority. So what you tell your children is very important. Use their imagination, give them positive suggestions, always let them know that, yes, you are going to make it. You're special. You can be anything. You can do anything. Those suggestions are going to be very, very strong. Raluca and I were driving through Philadelphia. Actually, we're I believe we were on a subway going to Center City, Philadelphia once, and there were two Hispanic women sitting ahead of us, and one was talking to the other, and talking back and forth. And one said to the other, "Don't you have a teenage son? I haven't heard anything about him. What's going on with him?" And the other one looks at her and she says, "I've been telling the bum since he was really young that he's going to go to jail just like his father if he doesn't straighten out. He's going to, jail is his future. He's in jail." You see what I mean? The expectancy, the role model, the person in authority keep on saying, "You're going to jail." That's exactly what he was thinking, and that's where he went. So think of that when raising your children. Use imagination, use positive suggestion. And by the way, in one of these other gifts that we're going to be doing in the 20 days, okay, later on down the road, I'm actually going to show you how to do sleep hypnosis on your children. So I don't want to do too much and give it all away today. So there's other ways that you can help to condition your children that are very, very strong. But this is a great way to get started. So I'm glad you were all here. I'd like to say, hey, hi, so-and-so, but for some reason my phone is not telling me the live people who are watching. And I know there's some here, but my phone is kind of like, the bottom of the phone is kind of stuck, stuck in time. So we'll have to work on that and figure out what happened until tomorrow. So remember, tomorrow we'll be doing another gift of giving segment, just like we did here. We're going to be doing 20 altogether, so 20 different videos. Yes, we got to find out. You're going to hear from me 20 times in a row, 20 days. And each time we're going to be giving you something different to be able to help you, to be able to help your family and your friends progress. So if you enjoyed what you learned here, I'd like to ask you to please share it with any of your friends who have children, or your children who have children, or anyone who has kids. Share it with them so they can learn. They might pick up something from this that can help them get past some of the problems they've had. Maybe it'll be one less person in Walmart saying, "You better not do this." I mean, you can hear them 4 aisles away screaming at your child. I hear that and I look at Luke and it's like, oh, I just want to go tell them that it's not working. All it's doing is frustrating both of them. But, can't do that. You'll get thrown out of the store, probably punched in the nose or something. But it's important that everyone knows this. So please share it with your friends. And I hope to see you tomorrow. I'm not sure what time of the day. We plan these and we do them at the best time of the day, trying to get most people. I prefer doing these in the evening, but it's hard to say I'm doing this tonight and you only have 2 hours to get your gift, so we try to do them earlier in the day. So let your friends know, and thanks for watching.